This is your tutorial on Ancestry.com. I was hesitant to create a tutorial on this resource because it's so massive. There are so many different things to discover on here. So this is truly just the tip of the iceberg that I'm going to show you, but at least gives you an idea of how to get started with this really amazing resource that you guys are so lucky to be able to access here at school. So on the first page here, you'll notice you have a few different search options. We can type in our first and last name of our ancestor along the place where they live, as well as their estimated birth date. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my relative. Try to be as specific as you can with the place, and you'll see why in a little bit when we get to our search results, because there's just so many records that it brings up. All right, so I'm going to search my relative here, and you can see it brings up close to 20,000 search results. Not all of these are based on my relative, though, and that has to do with my filters that I have set over here. The filters make things really broad or really exact. So even though I am certain this is my ancestor's his name, and I am certain that he was born in 1893, and I know he lived in Pennsylvania in the county I indicated, I might not make it all exact because in some records he's listed with his Italian name, and in some records he's listed with a different birth year. It was just incorrect when it was stated in those records. So you can see what happens when you move this little bar across. It shows you what it's looking for. So on broad, it's just being very broad with his name. So because of that, I end up with some search results with people who are not him, who have various spellings of my last name, along with Victor maybe as a middle name, and totally not my relative right here at all. So it's almost being too broad for me, so I would probably move this up to something, maybe this one, that it sounds like or it's similar, and maybe exact and similar. I might leave it on that instead. Same thing with the last name. You can move that bar if you're not getting the results you want, or you're getting too many people who are not your ancestor. Then with the birth year, you may want to move that. If you're pretty certain on your birth year, I would take it away from broad and move it to where it's more exact. Some of the records for my ancestor have him listed as being born in 1895 for some reason. So I might put it even back here at the plus or minus 5 years. That means it's going to search plus or minus 5 years on the side of this date. So it's going to be 1888 to 1898 that it would search instead of just the specific year 1893. And then this is the county, the place in which he lived, if you want to make that more broad. If you're unsure if that's the county that your ancestor always lived in, you could change that. And then any changes there, if you click update, it will change the number of results you get. I just dropped a lot of results off that were not my person, so that can be really helpful. So here's my search results list. You can see it has a nice title with a link for what that is. If you hover over it, it includes a lot of information about what's there. You can see more by actually clicking on it and see the actual image of the census record that we looked at a few months ago in class. You can also click on View Image for that. Here it has some information. This is going to help you verify that it really is your ancestor. And this one definitely is my ancestor. So is this one here. Make sure that you have a nice list next to you of spouses for your ancestor, as well as birth and death years and places in which they've lived at certain times. And some of that you may need to gather by going on to the census records and verifying if it's your person. But these are all nuggets of information you're going to be gathering along your journey that you need to keep in front of you as you continue into new resources. So you can see all the different types. We've got a death certificate right here, which would give maybe some additional information that I don't find on a census, as well as draft cards from the war. There's even church records. This one's not for my relative, but you may find church records that could be helpful, baptismal records, things like that. On the left-hand side, if there is a certain type of record or document that you're trying to find, let's say you're specifically looking at when they immigrated, you can click on that and that would bring up something that could be helpful. This one's not helpful for me. I can immediately tell that. The spelling of the last name is really off. And I know for a fact that he didn't arrive this early in the United States, but this could be something that's helpful. But don't get discouraged. Ancestry research is sometimes finding a needle in a haystack, and it can be frustrating, and you might use a whole class period searching for something and never write anything down because your work was really in the search for that day and maybe vetoing some things, vetoing some websites, knowing some things not to look for in the future. And sometimes that's even more helpful than finding nuggets of information is ruling out some things. So that's just a brief look at Ancestry.com. If you have any questions, definitely talk to Ms. Richardson and Ms. Ziller about that, and we'll be happy to help you.